On this episode, we're rewinding to one of our Halloween favorites where I was joined by James and Shannon to talk all about their elaborate themed Halloween parties. Today's September 30th, 2025, and this is episode 811 of the Main Street Magic Podcast.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Main Street Magic. I'm your host, Jeremy Stein, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely wife, Rhonda.
Hey guys!
If you want to be part of the community and join the conversation, get the latest theme park news, as well as live streams from the parks and resorts, head to Facebook and search for the Main Street Magic community and ask to join.
Make sure you check us out on the web at mainstmagic.com, as well as follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at mainstmagic, and on TikTok at MSM Podcast.
Planning a trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World can be overwhelming and at times just downright frustrating. But don't worry, because Mouse Dining removes the frustration of booking Disney dining reservations, alerting you when they spot availability for your desired restaurant, date, meal, and time. Visit msmfriends.com to use this free service.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.
Are you ready for your bucket list trip? Our trusted partner, MEI-Travel, will handle the planning so you can focus on the memories. They offer free vacation planning services and have nearly 20 years of experience creating memorable vacations. Visit mainstmagic.com/travel for a fee-free, no-obligation quote today. Hey everyone, Jeremy here with a quick note before we dive in. We had a little bit of a scheduling snag this week, but don't worry, we've got a perfect throwback episode all lined up for you. Today, I'm rewinding back to one of my favorite episodes from last year where I was joined by James and Shannon. If you've ever thought your Halloween party game was strong, wait until you hear what they've been doing for over a decade. They've been putting together elaborate, over-the-top themed Halloween parties for their family and friends. In this episode, we talk about everything that goes into it, from picking the theme, planning and designing the decor, sending out invites, to creating killer food and drinks, all while sticking to a budget. So whether you're hosting this year or just love Halloween creativity, this one's full of tips and tricks. So grab your pumpkin spice latte and let's jump back into this spooky fun conversation with James and Shannon. Husband and wife duo James and Shannon join me today to talk about their decade tradition of throwing elaborate Halloween parties at their home with a new theme each year, as well as the decor, activities, food, and drink to match. Today we're going to talk about their theme this year, which is Haunted Mansion and Haunted Disney, as they share the ultimate party planning tips on a budget. If you didn't catch it before, make sure you go back when I joined them last year on their Double Hop Beat podcast to talk all about the magical drinks at Hollywood Studios. Go subscribe and check out episode 97. All right, let's talk to James and Shannon all about Halloween parties. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Super excited to chat with you all again. It's been a little while, and today we're going to talk all about how to throw a Disney-themed Halloween party. Welcome to the show. Thank you all for joining me.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much. We big fans of the show.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's dive in and talk about this whole concept of your Disney Halloween parties that you guys have been throwing for years now. And you sent me a bunch of photos from some of the stuff you're working on for this year's, and then, some of the years past. And it's just unbelievable. So I'm super excited to kind of dive in and go through your process for having these incredible parties, for something that people may want to do in the future or whatever it may be. So I guess kick off, what started this? What made you guys decide to go so all in instead of just saying, let's have a Halloween party, we'll get a couple decorations? I mean, you guys go all in. Where did that all come from?
Yeah, exactly, Jeremy. I mean, I think the key in today's day and age, I think it's minding your budget and also being able to bring themes into your house and get the people to show up. I mean, everyone's in today, it's post-COVID, everyone kind of wants to just stay home, be with their friends and family. So we were trying to figure out a way of how could we get our friends, family, neighbors even to come out once a year. So at least once a year, we would be able to see them and have a good time, but also make it really fun for us where we could take something we like, such as a Disney theme park, and bring it into our house and have it so someone books it out 3 months in advance that, hey, we're getting the sitter, we're coming to the party, and do something engaging.
Yeah, but James, this started for you. I mean, back when you were a little kid, this wasn't like a recent development, really. So, like, the background of why we throw such an elaborate party really stems from James's childhood and what his dad used to do for
Oh, okay.
Halloween. So,
Yeah, so every year my dad used to decorate our house as a different theme for the Halloween. So as trick-or-treaters, and I would always be a sidekick. So we set up our garage as the Bat Cave, and I was Robin. We had the IROC Z Camaro, decked out like the Batmobile. We had all the gadgets, and every year he would switch it up something different, so people with their families could enjoy something that was free. All they had to do, they were out anyway trick-or-treating. So I was like, hey, we could bring this idea for adults. I mean, every friend I talk to is like, you know what, we're at that age, we're in our 30s, we're in our 40s, let's have something where we can be a kid again and even enjoy with our own kids, and bring something that's free, and you just show up, and we'll show you with some of the tips on this episode of how to really do it on a friendly budget, which is huge. I mean, it's really huge, Shannon.
Yeah, I love that you say that. It kind of comes from your childhood. I grew up, both of my parents were educators, but I remember every Christmas season, they had a huge Christmas party at our house. And it was an adults only type thing. They would get it catered and beer and wine and all that good stuff. And I remember I'd stay up in my room, the whole night until I was old enough to kind of like come down and say hello to their friends and all. So when I got married and was starting a family, Rhonda and I started a yearly Christmas party, like in much of the same fashion as my parents and my dad had always done. So I love to hear that from you, like that thing coming from your childhood that you just want to keep going. What are some of the themes that you've done in the past? How do you decide those? Because I really love what you're saying about trying to get people to come out, because you're right. We've got 2 Halloween parties the next 2 weekends, and I'm excited to go because I'm going to see some people that we don't get to see a ton. But at the same time, you are kind of like, we got to think about a costume, and
what am I going to be?
Yeah, what are we going to do there? And I don't drink anymore, so I'm really like, all right, now what are we going to do? So what are the steps that you're taking in the planning process and coming up with the themes to go, this is something that somebody is not going to want to miss? Like, we can pretty much guarantee it.
Yeah, so we actually started doing these parties 12 years ago.
Wow.
So it's our 11th party this year. Obviously, during COVID, we did not host. We had to postpone. We were very hopeful until the very end that it was going to happen. And then like the month before, we were like, this is definitely not happening.
Yeah.
So, but basically, we kind of think about either what do we like? What are our passions? Because it's kind of boring to think and be creative about something that you're kind of just like, meh, like this is like cool, but I'm not really like into it. So we try to think of something that's going to engage us, and then also kind of take into consideration what's popular currently. And it doesn't always really factor in, I would say, intentionally. Sometimes we pick a theme a year before, and then 6 months out, it's like everywhere. Like right now, I mean, this year our Halloween party is the Haunted Mansion ride theme. So at Lowe's this year, there are Haunted Mansion everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it is like on every shelf. It's very popular, and that was not an intentional pick for us. We actually chose this right after last year's Halloween party. So it kind of like works out that way. But then we kind of think of, we want it to be an immersive experience. So what theme can we pick that is going to allow us to be creative and have enough to really do our whole house? Because that's how much we've gotten into it. We started with like our dining room and our basement with some like orange lights the first year, and then have slowly progressed up to really theming every room of our first floor and the basement. So we kind of have to take into consideration, will we have enough with this theme to make it that next wow factor from the last year?
And you really have to be careful with picking a theme too, especially when it comes to Disney, because you have to gauge your audience. Mm-hmm. So who do you envision coming to this party? Are they Disney enthusiasts that will get very detailed things of, for example, we're doing the ride queue. So when you walk up to our house, we have the wait times. We have the overhang that we made out of a TV cardboard box that we had sitting around. We purchased a $10 scalpel tool that allows you to make these intricate cuts in spray paint, and that's it. And, it's really interesting to see how our parties have kind of evolved, because as Shannon had mentioned, we started with a one-room theme. It was more just general Halloween.
It was just a great pumpkin because we had a pumpkin and we were like, oh, this will be the theme because there's a pumpkin on the table
There
and
you go.
and it's Halloween. So
Yeah.
that was kind of our rationale for the very first one.
And what I kind of, before we started hosting these, of going to a party, my biggest frustration was feeling that awkwardness of you might not know everybody at the party. You might not feel comfortable going to somebody's house if it's just a general, just a party. So for Jeremy, like you know, if you're thinking it's going to be alcohol focused, and what will I be able to do if they're not going to have games? They're not going to, it's just going to be a general party. I don't know if we should go. I don't know what I could wear. So by doing a theme, in letting people know what the theme is ahead of time, you're really getting that comfort level for people before they even walk in the door. So that's our biggest number one suggestion with throwing a party in general, whether it's a murder mystery party or which we've done, or
so cool.
Any other kind of Halloween party, is planning ahead of time and making sure whether with Facebook, you create an event. We had it, 6 months?
Well, you went a little.
I went a little overboard this year because Haunted Mansion is huge, and it's a theme that takes a little thinking about what you might want to dress up as.
Yeah.
But in this case, we did Haunted Disney, so you don't necessarily have had to bend to the Disney parks to appreciate what we're going to do with the theme. So it could. Disney now is Star Wars, and the universe has really been immersive, like Shannon was saying, an immersive experience. So planning is huge, knowing your audience. So if you're having to have kids come, you also have to take in consideration what decorations you're going to have. Are you going to have a clown that jumps out that could trigger someone's anxiety?
Yeah.
Are you going to, have a ghost that will, hit somebody on the back when they walk in? We have some Disney friends that they like those kind of scare houses, but not everybody likes that. Yeah. So you really have to cater it to your audience and know who you're planning on inviting to this party.
Yeah. Well, I think that's amazing that that's the outlook you have, because I can tell you, I mean, this was, I've been married 20 years now. 20 years ago when we started our Christmas party, honestly, it was about us. Like, we were just like, we want to have a Christmas party. We want all of our friends to come. We're going to do the things that we like. And we learn to progress and make it about the guests. But I love that that's what you're doing, so that everybody can come and have a good time. And, you can be very, I guess, niche with Disney. But I do think, from a lot of the photos that you shared from the past, some of the stuff you're working on this year, the things that you were just saying, it definitely sounds like it's still broad enough that everybody can enjoy it. So, somebody can come in and be like, well, I'm not really a big Disney fan. I kind of know what maybe Haunted Mansion is. But this is really cool. And then you have the fans that are going to come in and be like, I know what that is. I know what that is. I know that little Easter egg and that detail.
Absolutely.
Are you decorating for like the whole Halloween season? Like, when does that start? And how much of your house is done up for the party outside of just the party?
So this year, usually I just do general Halloween. We have a toddler. So having things up for the party way in advance is a little tough because she'll walk downstairs and go, ooh, what's that? And then run over and try to touch it. Or, for example, spoiler alert for people coming to our party, we had the organist that's in the ballroom, the blow up, and we were going to put that in our living room. That's technically the ballroom. And we blew it up when she was in the room, and I thought she was going to lose it. She was like, that is scary. I'm out of here. So we can't do like a ton of stuff, but we do try to do things in areas that she's not in as often. So on our lunch break today, we were, trying to do things in our basement, because when we're down in the basement, she's with us. She's not running free, just because there's a lot of brewing equipment and things down there that she can get into. So we've been trying to do things little by little, especially this year, because I feel like this is probably our most immersive theme and like interactive experience when people show up to our house. So I know usually I just take the day before off of work to get everything done. So I was like, I'm not going to have time to do everything. So this year I've been really pushing to get stuff set up and finished, like starting now basically. And then throughout this next weekend, and then every night leading up to the party, I'm going to do another thing and another thing. So, but we do have holdovers. So if I make something that I really like, we'll keep it and it'll go out the next year just as a regular Halloween decoration, or we'll repurpose it for the next party. So
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like the huge thing that we've learned over throwing so many of these kind of parties is maximizing not only your space, what's your space consideration? Are you planning to do one room that's themed and just kind of keep your guests in a 1 or 2 room space? Or, do you have a bigger house where you can do the rooms as different parts of whatever theme you're going to do? It can really be as elaborate as you want or kind of as subtle as you want, which I think we've done both ways. And as long as you have the important key features, I think people will come back year after year. So example, Haunted Mansion, right? So for us, the biggest things that we knew going in that we had to create was the Doom Buggy. Because, everyone thinks Haunted Mansion, the queue, you got the Doom Buggy, you got the Grim and Ghosts, and you got the Hatbox Ghost, and you got
Madame
the...
Leota.
Madame Leota, of course, yeah. Madame Leota, of course. So we had maybe a list of 5 or 10 things we knew we had to somehow fit in to the party. Now, we reuse all the time and repurpose. So, for example, the Madame Leota, we had an old genie globe that's been 30 years old that we decided to repurpose into Madame Leota.
She's my masterpiece. I'm just going to say that right now.
Your masterpiece, and I have to say, it is incredible what you've done. And you've hand drew all those neon signs that hang around in that room on the ride, and it looks incredible.
Wow.
We gave the photos to Jeremy, so Jeremy will share those for the listeners who are like, oh, this sounds interesting. Yeah. And so the Doom Buggy is one of those things where I really, and our friends, when they heard the theme, are like, oh, if you're doing room to room, you got to have it moving from the rooms. And I go, you know what? We're not about to spend $6,000 here to recreate what Disney has perfected over the years.
Yeah, we're trying to do this on a budget, a reasonable budget. So
what we did instead, and this is what you can kind of use of what aspects of the theme you really appreciate, is you can make it your own. So we took that of, let's use the Doom Buggy as the space where people can take photos. So it'll be a stationary photo opportunity for you to take a selfie in the Doom Buggy. And we just will create it out of cardboard and just whatever we have.
Pool noodles, cardboard, and black tablecloths. And we have an existing bench, so we're going to repurpose it's like our mudroom bench. So we're going to repurpose that as the actual seat.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a person who works in the events industry, I am very cognizant of safety, especially when there's alcohol involved. Yeah. So our friends really wanted a moving Doom Buggy, and I was like, I just cannot, in good conscience, provide you with that.
You can make them sign a form when they walked in that case. They'd have to bring their own insurance claim or something, or policy or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that comes to our kind of like our second tip, I would say, is as a host, you want to also enjoy the party.
Yeah.
So the first couple parties, for example, last year, I learned a valuable lesson in doing a Star Wars themed escape room where I recreated in our garage the scene where the trash compactor scene. And I just wrote up very simple. So you didn't have to know Star Wars, but if you knew Star Wars, you might be able to uncover the locks or the codes faster than people that might have to find it in the room that's in plain sight. Keep it simple, keep it plain, but make it just challenging enough where people will be excited that they completed it.
Yeah.
I learned a valuable lesson that everybody wanted to do it. So I was in the garage for 4 hours out of the party.
I think it was 2. It was like 2.
It felt like 4, Shannon. You know what? As you're hosting and you're trying to enjoy yourself, resetting an escape room might sound like an amazing idea, but in practice as a host, it's not that fun. But it is fun because I kind of engaged with everybody.
Yeah.
But
that's a one-time fun activity.
As a host, you want to enjoy the party, and you kind of whatever energy you're projecting, your guests are going to pick that up.
Yeah.
So we almost act in character as well, taking a note from Disney of the cast members and what a great job they do of making you feel welcome. Number one. Number 2, keeping the synergy and not really breaking from that. So we're cast members, of course, going to be for the party. And we're going to walk our guests through this kind of scenes of our house and then let them go free.
Yeah.
They even have our little name badges.
Amazing. That's
so
perfect.
little things just like that to get people in the spirit. And that's why with our costume, if you're not in costume, that's fine. But, it really gets people into the mood if you have a theme. It gives them a sense of direction. It kind of sets the tone of what are there going to be kids there? Are there not going to be kids? And that leads me to kind of the next point of planning of make it clear to guests, is it okay to bring my kids? Or is this let's let our hair down, get a sitter type of a party? And I think that's the number one mistake a lot of people make when they're planning these parties is they don't make those guidelines clear. And you might get toddlers running around with 50 adults and, it's just not a great environment for anybody.
Yeah.
So really cater to who you're going to have.
Yeah. So, all right. So you are an events planner. I know you do home brewing, James, and I thought I remember reading you studied biology. So this is all starting to make sense how you two are putting this elaborate thing together. Is it just the two of you for the most part working on all of this?
100%.
Okay.
Just
So
the two
just
of
the
us.
two of you. And so your process, you decide, for example, I love hearing about processes and behind the scenes and the way things come together, because it's really easy for most guests to show up and be like, wow, this is really cool. You guys did great. And they have a good night and they go home, and they don't know everything that went into it. And I find that stuff so interesting. So you decide, for example, this year is going to be Haunted Mansion, a Haunted Disney type theme. What are the steps to decide how the decor is going to go? I mean, do you two sit down with planning in mind and going, all right, this year we're going to do the basement, we're going to do the first floor, here's the rooms. You just start to deck stuff out. Like, what does that entire thing look like until the point you feel like, all right, it's party time, let's go?
Yeah. So usually I think we kind of independently unplanned, like we'll think about it by ourselves. And then I usually send him an email with like, here's all the things that I'm thinking of doing. And then we'll kind of have a discussion like of what he's been kind of brewing up in his mind, and then put them together. And then I make a list of like, okay, here's the rooms, here's what we're doing in each room, here's what we need to buy if we need to buy them, or here's what we can repurpose from previous events, or we even repurpose our Christmas decorations.
Wow.
So we have a lot of those like foil, like Rudolph the reindeer and the Bumble, like for outside.
Yeah.
So they're basically human figures.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've repurposed those in the past to create characters for the theme. So we kind of think about what do we have and what's going to fill this space, so that not one room is just kind of like, here's one thing you can look at.
Right.
And then if there's bigger budget items like, oh, we really think that investing in this will either make an impact or it's something we can reuse just for random Halloween decorations, then we kind of decide like what we're going to do there. This year, I feel like it was actually easier than previous years because we decided to do the ride itself. So I went online. I mean, I'm going to actually out myself a little bit. I've only been on the ride once.
Okay.
And it was last year. I wanted to go on when I was a kid. I used to live in Florida. And so our Girl Scouts got like where they closed down the park for the Girl Scouts day.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were there and I was in the line and I was ready to get on. And then someone told me that there was actual ghosts. I was probably like 7 or 8.
Aww.
And I told my mom, I can't do this. I have to go. So they took me out some like random back entrance, like service area. Like one of the cast members took me and another friend out and we waited outside. So I never made it on the ride. And then we moved up to New England. So we never made it back down there. And so I went back to Disney for the first time in 25 years last August, and finally got to ride Haunted Mansion, but had COVID at the time. So I was like in a delirious state of like,
and did not know.
I had COVID. I didn't know I was sick. And I was just like, and the ride broke down. So like it
broke down when you're going down the tree and you're heading towards the cemetery.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't feel so good. And I'm like, are you just motion sickness or is it the heat? And we all thought it was just the heat.
I thought I had heat stroke at the time I was, because it was 100 degrees and 100% humidity. So that's the only time I've been on this ride. So I was like, I need to next time we're there, go out again and really enjoy it, but also familiarize myself. Like I know the key components because I've seen the movies and we have friends who are actually huge Haunted Mansion fans. Our friend Lex has the Tightrope Girl tattooed on her whole back. So they are like really our target audience for this year's party. So I went on and looked at the layout of the ride. Okay, what rooms are in the ride that we can replicate and where, and what does the flow look like? So as close as possible, trying to replicate the actual flow of the ride via the rooms. So that was really easier this year, I feel like, because the house was kind of laid out for me. I didn't really have to think about, okay, what rooms are we going to include? I was just like, here's all the rooms. Where are we going to put them?
It's a lot to pull from. I mean, it's a lot of great content to pull from and piece together, as opposed to something like Star Wars has so much content. You're like, I would imagine you're thinking, where do we start? How do you pull this in? So you've got your theme and you're decorating, you're coming up with all your ideas for it. You're sending out invites. What are you telling people as far as costumes? Just come in costume? Are you asking them to dress the theme? How does that part work with your theming as a whole?
So originally, how we got people to come, because the very first year we did it, we saw maybe 70% of the people came were not in costume.
Well, to be fair, there was like literally 7 people, including us at this point.
Okay.
Like it was very
all right,
small.
fair enough. But I mean, I've seen it too where other parties that I've been invited to where the majority of people are not dressed up. And then when you come dressed up, oh, it's not a dress up party. So then you feel, you feel like you're an outsider. So then the next year, if you're invited back, you don't come in costume. So that's really why the theme with the costume, we did a costume contest. So we would award, a trophy, which you can get on Amazon. You can find very cheap. You can even make them
3 or 4 packs.
And you can give whatever gift we started doing Amazon gift cards or something that most people could use, Target gift cards, you name it, as prize incentives. So if you were on theme, you would get an extra vote. So everyone,
that's new this year.
That's new this year.
New this year.
To incent, everyone's pretty good with theme, but we would do a vote. So everybody who's at the party gets a piece of paper and they can write down who they think is best costume, put it in. We've done most creative too, or best couple.
Yeah, day of we'll kind of see. Like last year we had a lot of go-grus and definitely a lot of Han and Leia pairs. So we kind of had some extra prizes while we were doing the voting. We said, okay, what else can we award just to kind of entice people so it's not just the one that wins. And so we ended up doing best couples costume and then best go-gru. So and I actually had a go-gru mug that was the prize for the go-gru, and my neighbor loved it and it's really mad because she broke it. So
and that's really something too where you don't have to spend a lot of money on costumes. Costumes these days are so expensive, like decorations, where we were trying to encourage people of as long as you're creative and you don't show up with a name tag that says hello, my name is G.I. Joe. You're trying to get people in the spirit here, and it really does. Everybody who comes dressed up brings that positive energy, and it's exciting to see what people come up with. I mean, we've seen very creative costumes where someone's sewn their own Oogie Boogie mask out of burlap sack, the entire costume out of burlap, and he sewed it himself. And the only thing he bought was the mask. I think he bought the mask. But I mean, we've seen so many creative costumes, just people thinking outside the box or even reusing what they've had from years past and just putting a spin on it. So for this year, even though the house theme, we always do a house theme. So this house theme would be Haunted Mansion, the ride. But our general theme was Haunted Disney. Yeah. So you could be anything in Haunted Disney and be on theme.
Or just Disney. It doesn't have to be haunted. If you're not like into gore and scary, like you don't have to, you could just be Ariel.
Or you could just come in a regular costume, but you wouldn't. This year we added that you'd get an extra 2 votes automatically if you were on theme.
Very cool.
To try and promote people to try and think outside the box. And that's just knowing our audience who's come for the last 10 years, who the costumes are getting more and more elaborate. They're getting more and more
they're very competitive about it. Our friends, we've had one friend who's won at least 5 out of the 11 parties 10 parties we've hosted. And they are like core friends group gets very competitive. Like they're trying to beat each other when another one wins over the rest of them. It's like bragging rights. So it's really turned into a kind of a yearly thing they strive for.
This is where we have people flying in from multiple states all over the place just for this event and going home the next day.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's mind blowing. I don't think I would do that. I wouldn't fly, but that just shows the dedication. And again, the appreciation they have for what we've done, I think, over the years. And we've done it on a very strict budget as well, because if I was listening to this episode right now, I'd say, whoa, that sounds very labor intensive. It sounds like a lot of money. But the DIY aspect of this and looking around your own house, what Halloween decorations do you have, or what do you like? So looking in your background, Jeremy, the Toy Story, how do you put a Toy Story theme into Halloween? That's keeping colors, Halloween colors. That's your snacks. That's you can mix in your normal Halloween decor with whatever theme you decide to go with. And I think that's important too, to make sure that you're staying, especially for a Halloween party, that you're keeping it Halloween.
Yeah. Well, and you're setting the precedent of, here's a costume contest. Here's like really getting people into it, because I look at it like I was just kind of thinking back while you're saying that. Like, I feel like in your early 20s, you go to a Halloween party and you're still like young and stupid enough that you're like, I'm going to go all out. You kind of get into your late 20s and 30s and you're like a little bit embarrassed. And it comes to that situation where you go, what if I show up and I'm the only one who's dressed up? What if, and then you get into your 40s and I'm like, I don't give a crap. I'll just do whatever. So, but setting people up for that whole thing, the first Halloween party we're going to next weekend, it specifically says there will be a contest for best costume. Now, for me personally, this year, with 2 Halloween parties canceled, we just didn't put in the effort that we normally do for a Halloween costume. So, but I know that I can show up there, and maybe I'm not trying to win it this year, but I know that I can show up in a costume and I can enjoy it with everybody else. So let's talk food and especially beverage. I would assume, are you putting out home brews, or is that too much a labor of love to put out that much for a party? Because I would totally understand if you want to keep those to yourself.
No, and I mean, this is huge into our budget. So most parties, the majority of their budget will be on alcohol. Let's face it. And so we've learned over the years that because we home brew and we do the home brewing podcast and craft beer, that, we can brew a hard seltzer. We can have a pump. Shannon just did amazing pumpkin beer that we're going to have on tap. Yeah. And again, now we're starting to offer non-alcoholic options as well, mocktails, and being creative with the names, just to try and get more people involved, because people like to drink what they like to drink. Yeah. So the majority of the time it's cocktails. They like their whatever they normally drink. So when you try and go too outside the box with custom cocktails and things of that nature, you have to be very careful, because people will go back. They'll either bring something that they like to drink, or it just will be untouched. So you got to be mindful of, okay, let's not go so crazy here that no one will want to try the beverage that you put in all that work for.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and in the past, we've always had non-alcoholic beverages, but it was mostly like seltzer, soda, or water, not really anything that was fun. I think one year just had like apple cider. But spirit-free has really begun to be a bigger thing in the events industry. So this year I was like, I really want to make a point to have a spirit-free beverage that looks like a cocktail, that is still fun and it's still in the mason jar dispenser, and that I can have vodka on the side. So if someone does want it to add their own alcohol, they're more than welcome to. But there's something that is just fun and immersive for the people who either don't drink alcohol anymore, are sober, or just don't feel like doing it. Maybe they're the DD and they don't want to just drink a soda. Yeah. So we've really tried to, because I'm in the industry, kind of take those trends and incorporate them into the party itself. So this year we're doing a drink in the mason jar, and I think I haven't decided on a name yet, because it's going to be purple. I know that. Okay. But it's basically strawberry lemonade, vodka, and Sprite. So it's going to be a little bit sweet, but then adding a little bit of, because the strawberry lemonade has like that pinker tint to it, and then you add the blue, you can make it look a little bit, just little blue food coloring, make it purple. So I'm trying to figure out a name for that one, but just kind of things that I find online that are out there that may not be Haunted Mansion theme, but have the color I'm looking for, or have something I can add the color to, and just kind of repurpose that and remake it. I think a lot of people get stuck on, oh, that's that specific theme, or this is just a regular, screwdriver. Well, you add a little bit of like curacao to orange juice and it turns green. So like there's certain things you can do that are like just not, I feel like people don't always think outside the box necessarily in that aspect.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head here of, you want the people who don't drink to feel as included as the people that do. And I think that's when we were a little bit younger, we didn't think of that. We just threw out some soda, threw out some bottles of water. And it's like, okay, like I get it. Like it. Okay. So for the beer side of things, there's so many non-alcoholic options out there now that are in craft cans. So we're going to put those out and basically elevate those to the same point we're elevating alcohol. And let's face it, every party kind of has a stigma of you're elevating alcohol to a degree. So as a host, we want people to be safe. We also want people to feel, respected in our home. So, a lot of these water companies are now canning, water, and they're calling them liquid death. If you've seen them at concerts, and it's a great thing. And a lot of people who shame those kind of beverages don't understand what other people go through. They just think, oh, they're trying to it's a money grab.
Yeah.
And it's really not. It's really keeping people immersive into the experience, giving you the experience, and just having everyone have a good time without having to get drunk.
I mean, it's just inclusion. Like, right, when you think about an event, you most likely, if they're following the rules, will have handicap access. They will have certain things to accommodate folks who need those mobility accommodations. So why not also include accommodations, quote unquote, for lack of a better word, for people who, for whatever reason they choose, don't drink alcohol. So that's kind of why we try to implement that into our events.
Yeah. And then if you're bringing kids into the party, we don't
even accidentally drink it anything.
That's where you really have to, again, we say cater to your target audience of your party. You need to make sure that you have options for the kids, whether it's juice boxes or like non-sugary drinks for them, and also make sure the alcohol is not the
only sugar drinks for the
where kids can get access to it. Let's face it. I mean, kids will be kids, and you don't want to have a jug of jungle juice sitting on the floor, so a toddler can be like, "What's this?" Pull the tap, and then there you go.
Yeah.
So it's just something, and you also, as a host, you don't want to have to be mixing people drinks the entire night. We learned that probably our second party in. People will handle their own drinks and what they want. Make pre-made drinks the day of is by far the best time saver that you can make, and it goes a long way. It really does. And you're also able to moderate a little bit of what people intake by only having certain things out, and you can pace things out so people will still go over control. Let's face it, there's one or two people in every event, but for the most part, that
used to be
moderate
me, by the way.
People
so I would have been that one, in case you're wondering. But that's awesome. I love all that, and what I think is really cool, everything you guys are saying. And I wish that I had known you 20 years ago when we started our Christmas parties, because they probably would have been a lot less stressful and people would have had a better time at them overall, because you're giving great tips just for entertaining in general, for anything. Obviously we all came together because we all love Disney, and you're doing this incredible, Disney themed Halloween party and all. But I do think it's cool that you really are giving tips that can last for any sort of entertaining that anybody is doing, especially as we really get geared into the holidays and people are having, folks over for Thanksgiving, or they're having Christmas parties or a New Year's Eve party or whatever it may be. A lot of these things can still be applied. And yeah, Shannon, it's so smart. And I would fall into that. I'd be like, oh, we're having people over for July 4th. Well, I have to find a July 4th beverage to make. No, you don't. You could really find anything and then make it red, white, and blue, or whatever, like you're doing with purple.
Or call it something, firecracker
whatever
delight
you want.
Or something.
And nobody's going to care. So I think that's a great idea. Now, how are you doing food? Well, first of all, if you go back to the drinks, because this is something that I had always struggled with in the past when we were doing parties and stuff. What's the precedent within the invitation on what people should or shouldn't bring? Are you guys basically making it where if every single person showed up without anything in their hand, everything would go off as planned? Or are you doing a thing like, hey, we have this specialty cocktail, we have some sodas, we have some home brewed beer and wine, but you bring whatever else? Like, how do you, I guess, get to that part? And then we'll talk food.
Yeah, so we usually post on the event at least 2 weeks out. So I actually just posted on Saturday saying, this year we're going to have home brews and a mocktail and some seltzers. And then we also said we're going to order some pizzas. If there is anything else you'd like to eat or drink, like just let us know. Like, drinks are on you. You can bring your high noons or whatever you want to have. But if you would like to contribute to the food, just message me so we can make sure, 3 people aren't bringing buffalo dip or something like that. Yeah. So that also helps with the cost savings, because we used to buy, 20 pizzas and all these snacks and things. And then people, they can't help themselves. Most people can't show up empty handed to someone's party. So at least if I know what you're bringing, then I can tell other people like, oh, someone's already bringing something similar or that exact same thing, or we don't have any desserts yet, maybe bring a dessert instead. And that just helps so we don't have to purchase or spend all day the party the day of making all these foods, or building that into our time frame the day of, because I wake up at probably 6:30 on the day of, and 7 o'clock, the start of the party gets here before I even know it. So
yeah, and that's one of the biggest lessons learned that we took away, from having all these parties. Of we used to want it, you just show up and everything's taken care of. And then it turned into people would still bring things, and we would have 30 pizzas plus a casserole plus whatever else, the kitchen sink that everybody brought. So then we learned that, hey, people are actually willing to bring something and feel like they're contributing to the party. Again, immersing yourself into the experience. Hey, I make a really good buffalo chicken dip. Can I bring that? And you don't have to bring something, but just putting it out there saying, if you'd like to bring something, message us and tell us what you want to bring. And then we can say, all right, buffalo chicken dip, check. Next person says buffalo chicken dip. Say, oh, okay, is there something else you would want to bring? Or you can bring it, that's fine, we'll just have more. So it's really allowing people to bring some of their own culture, their own tastes, something they know probably they're going to want to enjoy to the party. And then it also takes away from a host of having to either buy or make, which, again, one of those years we had tables and tables full of desserts.
So many desserts.
Because let's face it, it's quick, it's easy to make. If you're going to a party, it's
or buy.
Or pie.
Oh, yeah.
Buy it.
Well, I was going to say pie would be good.
James just wants pie.
I just want pie.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of that went to waste because it sat out all night.
Right.
Nobody touched it, and then I try to clean up before I go to bed, but sometimes that doesn't happen as much as I would like it to. So they would sit out all night. So now I had to toss it. But even when people bring their own items, I do tend to put a little sign in front that says a name that's on theme for their dish. So I do try to still incorporate their stuff into the theme as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a great little thing that you've added over the years of signage.
Just chalkboard signs.
It's such a very minor overlooked thing, but it's so critical.
It's a game changer.
Because people will be like, oh, what's that?
Yep.
Yeah, what's that? Or, that's something Disney does great. There's signage everywhere.
Yeah.
You'd think it's almost, real estate agents are doing it now where they're saying, granite countertops. And they have something that says granite countertops.
You've been watching so much
Asian TV. But it's
the best.
Across, even breweries are doing it. The signage that they put up to direct people. Where should you be looking? What are you going to be tasting or drinking? Because, if you have an allergy, say, to peanuts and, that brownie's got peanuts in it, are they going to ask somebody who might not know who made it? So it's making it as easy for your guests to just have a good time without having all the worry of, oh, I don't know if I should try this. I don't know who brought it, or I don't know what's in this dish. It really does make, add to the experience.
And before we move on, I briefly mentioned at Michael's or any craft store, they sell the little chalkboard signs. So they have big ones, they got small ones, they got little ones that fit right in front of your food. And those are an easy thing you can buy and reuse every single year. You just get the chalkboard pens and use, I found Clorox wipes really cleans them the best. And you should also clean them the next day. Otherwise, if you leave it out all year and you go to clean it, you're going to see the little silhouette. But those are, again, just budget friendly, reusable things that you can get. And Michael's always has a coupon. So,
and that's the time of the year too to buy too, is either right the week of Halloween or a couple days before or right after, especially for Halloween decorations. And that's where we're already planning next year's theme. The wheels are already spinning, so that if there is a big ticket item that's usually $100 that goes on sale for 70% off, you're going to make a great deal if that's your one showpiece that you're going to go out and buy and make the effort to actually purchase an item. And even paper goods and other items, party items, if it's not around a holiday, if it's right after a holiday, those are usually the best times to buy.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we're talking about all this stuff, I do want to go back when, because you mentioned home brewing and all, just for people that are listening, if they don't know you guys, when you say home brewing, this is the real deal. This isn't, Mr. Beer Kit from Bed Bath and Beyond. You are legitimately home brewing, real beers of all different types, which I just think is super duper impressive and such a cool touch for something like a party. And yeah, again, with the signs and everything, not only I think the signs for the food, they elevate what everything looks like for one. It looks like somebody came in and catered. It looks very professional and all, which obviously you are, but but it also takes, it gives you guys more time to do the things you want to do, like you're saying, and not be stuck by the table the whole time being like, all right, I got to stand here and tell everybody what everything is, so I think all these little tips are just so smart about it. So going back into the actual party when everyone is there, and I know you're talking about trying to enjoy it as a host. What are some of the other things you do to make sure that everybody is having a good time, but you are as well? And like, how many people are normally coming to this thing? Because I know that's something a lot of people can struggle with when they're trying to entertain. Is you go, all right, I gotta go talk to that person, and you're with them for 10 minutes, and you're like, crap, this is really sucking me in, but I just saw somebody walk in. I got to go talk to them. And then I got to make sure I hit that, and you feel like you got to make rounds. Like, how do you guys enjoy having a party in the end, I guess would be my question.
Yeah. I think we really try, especially this year, we're really trying to be hands off with the things that we're like asking people to do, right? So we usually have at least one passive game that people can do. So when you come in, we'll be like, hey, there's a game, like, go over here and read the thing and figure it out. So like some years it is, what did we do last year? We did trivia for our 90s party. So it was like, we had a poster board of movies, and it was like, what year did the movies come out in?
It was
so people
horror
could
movies,
write down, we had a little answer sheet. They could fill in their answers and give it to us. We've done scavenger hunt type things. So kind of having something passive for the people that are attending, mostly so we don't have to like really, entertain everyone all at once. We can be like, hey, here's something to occupy you for a little bit. And then we'll come back once the party's really in full swing to touch base. And I think we try to be near the front door as well when people come in. So that way we have like a touch point with them. Like, hey, love your costume. Last year I was taking everyone's photos when they came in. I have a little printer, like a Canon. I forget what the
old school Polaroid looking kind of.
Yeah, but newer than that. But
they're new now.
It was basically, you can peel and stick them. They're like a sticker on the back. So I made a poster board. And when someone came in, I took their picture, printed it out, put it on the board. And that way, when we went to go vote, everyone could see if people didn't quiet down to hear what you were, because that tends to happen. You could see what everyone was and kind of inform your vote. So we do try to have a touch point when they first get there, so we can see everyone, and then go back to folks as the party kind of progresses. And we have some people that usually leave right after the costume contest. So we know like, okay, so-and-so is probably going to go right when that's over. So you try to make sure they see them first. And then we have a lot of people that stay at our house. We actually have 2, 4, 6, 7 people staying over at our house that night. So we know like we're going to see them for sure once everyone's gone. So like, and they can usually entertain themselves. So we just kind of try to divide and conquer. I guess,
and I going back to like, if you go into a party, you don't drink, you don't know people there. We wanted something to be engaging, but also for people don't want to have to be active in something, especially with people they don't know. So we give 2 options. We always do a passive and an active game for every party we do. And you can do both. You can do one or the other, or you don't have to do any. And there is a prize associated if you do those games. So there is an incentive, monetary or, pat on the back trophy, a certificate that says, January Jock.
Gift card or like a item that it pertains to the theme.
Yeah.
So,
but as far as passive, and it also gets the guests to engage with your theme, engage with all that hard work you put on as a host to make that synergy, make that room look like the ballroom, or look like, you've just entered the cemetery. And so for this year example, the passive game would be our hidden Mickeys. So we're not only hiding hidden Mickeys and Easter eggs throughout each room. And this year, again, as Shannon mentioned, being hands off this year, we've utilized QR codes in SurveyMonkey, where basically people will be able to go on, scan the QR code, and it pulls up basically room XYZ, this, how many hidden Mickeys, how many,
So the Easter eggs, just so we're explaining what that is, it's actually, again, reusing. So when I was decorating for Halloween this year, I pulled out items from past parties that are obviously from a past party. And we know that Disney loves to put in, Easter eggs of, hey, this other movie is now like hidden, like Pizza Planet. Like that's a big Easter egg that's in a lot of Disney stuff. So we wanted to kind of use that as inspiration to then hide items for other parties in the different rooms, and you have to go around and find those. And also bonus is counting the hidden Mickeys. So if there's a tie, that's our tiebreaker, is who was closest to the most hidden Mickeys that we actually had hidden around.
This QR codes, like you can find things for free on making a QR code. SurveyMonkey, you can do free trials close to the time of your party. So again, this is cost saving, and it's also keeping you in the party. So years past, we'd be tallying up and reading these trivias of,
everyone's handwriting.
how many, and I'm like, this is taking way too long. We got 30 people,
Or there's 5 Dans.
Five Dans, and which Dan wrote this, and going back to hunt them down. So those are like the more passive things, and it brings them into your environment. It sucks them in. So they're like, oh, you got the Grim and Ghost over here. Like, oh, is that Darth Vader's mask in the back? Oh,
yeah,
that's kind of weird. That's not part of the ride, if you know the ride. And it triggers that. But then we have also those people that like to be active. I'm one of those people. When I go to a party, I want something to do. Like, I don't want to just necessarily just talk the whole time. I'm kind of an introvert, but yet we have a podcast, so it's kind of funny.
That's how it works.
Nobody can see us over a podcast.
That's how it works. Yeah,
that's how it works. Yeah, I'm surprisingly extremely introverted, so I totally get it.
Yeah, so this year, I know usually with our friends, they like to play beer pong or some other active game of that nature. So we decided let's change up the rules very slightly. We got neon, these glow sticks essentially for cups, and we're gonna make it, be a twist on the classic beer pong game, that it does something with the theme, but it also allows those people to do what they're gonna do normally, but just add a little theming to it.
Yeah.
And Pin the Tail is another classic game, good for kids and adults. You'd be surprised how many adults get into this game. I will tell you, I was a skeptic when Shannon's like, our last party, let's do a Pin the Tail.
We did it for our Willy Wonka theme that we did, and it was pin the bubble gum on Violet Beauregard. And so you had to put the bubble. His mother drew a really great Violet, like blown up on a poster board, colored her and everything, and then we had little paper chewing gums that people wrote their name on, and then you had to put it as close to her face as possible.
That's genius. Yep. Wow.
Yeah, man. So it's just finding little things, and those didn't cost us any money to do.
Yeah.
And again, it's a huge cost saving, and people really get into it, and they go, what's going to be next year?
Well, it's competitive, so
very competitive. Oh, there was an escape room last year, we love that. What's going to be this year? And then they keep coming back and now we're up to like, I think 40 people RSVP this year. That's so we go from 7 to 40. So again, it's careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. And you've created something so special when people, as soon as the thing's over, people are like, all right, when is it next year? What's the theme next year? Like, I'm going to have to talk to y'all in the next few months about our Main Street 16 charity weekend and bounce some ideas off you guys, because this is genius. I mean, everything from the QR codes and using SurveyMonkey and everything that you're saying is just, it's so smart. And again, like you're mentioning, you're doing it all on a budget, because if you just showed people the pictures and you gave them a bullet pointer outline of what you're doing for this party, they would assume that you guys are just spending ridiculous amounts. I mean, that's what it looks like. That's how good it looks. And so the fact you're able to do so many things on a budget, reuse things, is just incredible. I mean, I'm just blown away. You guys are very smart about all of this. Are you gonna ever, like, do you think you would ever use, like, I guess, rent out your services? I mean, I know, again, you're doing event planning at your regular job, but
I mean,
would you look at doing something like this? Like, would you ever go, all right, we're going to throw Halloween parties for people and make like a business out of that portion?
Yeah, I mean, there's always potential for those kind of opportunities, but it's really funny that you mentioned that, because I had built Shannon for her 30th birthday a 5-foot Harry Potter car, flying car out of insulation board.
Oh my goodness!
And I had made it. Again, it cost me, I think, $30 and all the materials to just make. And it was so good that local brewery, who are friends of ours, they had just opened up, and they were doing Christmas time, and they were saying, "Hey, like, we're gonna do a Harry Potter."
It's called the Lost Forest.
The Lost Forest.
Say it's Harry Potter.
Yeah,
of course. Yep, no one gets sued.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So we're like, hey, we have some props. Like, I made this car. Would you be interested? They're like, absolutely. So for 3 years in a row, they would hang the car that I made for Shannon's 30th on their wall. And it was just very rewarding to see. And again, it didn't cost them anything, because we were helping them out as well, like being a young brewery and trying to get the community to kind of be engaged, and it just brings people together. It really does. And I think the biggest mistake we made when we started was, at least for me, was thinking I had to buy everything.
I was like, tell me what's
I had to go to the store. I had to get that, singing ghost that's $400 in the store, because people are going to love it. No, they'll look at it and be like, I've seen that in Lowe's. Like, it's more, they appreciate the things, like you can see in our background here. We have a piece of the wall that's built out of empty Amazon boxes and a backdrop, a brick backdrop.
It's like a tablecloth, like plastic
tablecloth material. Costs less than $5 to make, and for the entire thing. And it's just looking at pictures, and all the people who love Disney are very creative. At least I think so, to appreciate what Disney has done. So you can easily go online, look at pictures, and find things that are close enough where the average person is going to freak. And even not, our friends, I think, are still going to freak at what we've done, and they're fanatics with Disney.
I think also in the spending wise, it helps to have someone checking you when you want to buy those things, because James has already mentioned multiple times he wants to buy the Singing Knight at Lowe's, which is like $250. And I said, A, that's a lot of money. I'm not paying
Absolutely.
that. 2, where am I going to put this after the party's over? Like, this is a very specific piece. What am I going to do with this? Where am I storing it?
And that leads us to like another tip of being wise on what you buy. Of, can you reuse it? Number one, do you have the storage space for it? Number two. So that's where a lot of these inflatables will actually be a great option for you, because they go on sale all the time, even not around the holidays. Like the Oregon player we got from Haunted Mansion on Amazon just randomly was 50% off one day. So we jumped on it. And it's just those one center pieces that you can get, and easy to store. They deflate, you put them away. And Nightmare Before Christmas, same thing. We
reuse ours every year. So even though we buy it for the party, like we put them out. Like we've got Oogie Boogie and Jack outside. We've got Sally and Dr. Finkelstein. We've got our Yoda from last year. So we just incorporate it into that after it's done, which is.
And I would say the biggest mistake people make when they buy backdrops. So backdrops can be an amazing filler for a space, or an amazing element, because they're usually very cheap to buy. But most people will just throw a backdrop up on the wall, put it up on tape, and that's it. There's the room. You got to kind of make it 3-dimensional. So does that mean you bring out, you make kind of a false wall around it? Do you, for Jurassic Park, we had the giant T-Rex in one of our windows, so the light would go through it, and it looked like T-Rex was coming out of our window. All we did was built up around it with some greenery, fake greenery that was, you could get at any thrift store or Savers or anything like that, just to make it pop out, make it look like it's coming out of the wall, and throw a cheap strobe light underneath it. And you'd be amazed at the difference it makes. We took before and after pictures of, okay, great. You went on and got a backdrop, versus, oh my gosh, wow. Like, this looks like the real thing, like putting a little sign, like the electrical fence, just print up a little sign. Just easy things like that. Attention to detail goes a long way with stretching a budget.
Yeah. Well, and if you really look at it with what you're doing, if you go back to even something, Haunted Mansion, in dark rides, and especially old school, all those practical effects, if you go back to some of these original rides when they were built, I'm thinking off the top of my head, even just the planning process. I got to sit in at IAPA a couple years ago, all the creative team behind The Amazing Spider-Man. And they were talking about creating that ride and all the practical effects that they were using. For example, things like shower curtains that they could bounce light off, and just, in a lot of those rides actually use that. They're not going out to Lowe's and buying a $250 item. They're finding ways to create it out of what's there, and then positioning it in a way where, you could look at something that in reality is as simple as a backdrop, but you've been able to add these other practical elements that make it so much more, especially in the, the position and all that the person is put in as a guest. As far as the people that come, how many of them have gotten to see some of the stuff that you're doing ahead of the party, or is it mostly a surprise for everyone the day they show up?
It's mostly a surprise, which I was like, awesome. James, maybe we should see when this episode's coming out, because everyone's going to know what's happening at our party. But yeah, we do try to keep it. Sometimes our families can see a little bit, because we have to ask them, like for example, the Madame Leota came from his family, like that was at their house. So we have to ask them for things, but then we try to hide it or like cover it up. Like right now she's in the basement with the Haunted Mansion tablecloth over her. So even when they go in our basement, they can't see her. They can tell there's something over there, but they don't know what it is. So we do try to keep it the element of surprise. Unfortunately, our friends that stay at our house are usually the ones that help us set up the day of. So they are the ones that kind of see the behind the scenes, but not until the day of the party or like the night before. So we do try to keep
is still very helpful as a host as well. If you do have people coming from out of town and they're staying with you, of kind of like you want to have them be immersed in the environment, but they're also going to be in your house, so that they're going to see you putting things up. And usually
And if they're nice
good friends,
they'll
if they're
help.
good friends, they will help.
Hopefully, yeah.
And ours have, and it's been a huge help to us of just something simple of like some of the last day preparations because we have a toddler. We can't have certain things out all the time. So that's something else that's really great of having guests stay. And then, once the party starts, they go get changed and then they come down and, they're still amazed at when it all comes together. And that's where positioning of thinking what rooms you're going to have, which room you're going to put the food in, which room is kind of, do you expect the music to be in? So for us, we have certain rooms that will have the Haunted Mansion music in. And again, something we found on Amazon this year was motion sensor. You press the button and you can have up to 2 minutes of audio on it. So it kind of takes us out of having to, if we want the start of the ride and some of the phrases that come out, if you don't want to have to stand there and act it out, which we would have done,
or press a play button,
or press exactly. And then also you have your more party music. So that's kind of mixing in. I'd say with your music, don't go overboard with the theme. Don't say 100% to the theme because you're going to lose those people that might not be familiar with the theme. So maybe you do, a Haunted Mansion song every once in a while thrown in with some, lighter stuff as people come in. And then as the party goes on, you can add more of the, Blink-182 if you know a lot of your people like that, or, Monster Mash, or you still got to throw in some classic, Thriller. You got to throw in some classics in there, but also not alienate people with the music that you're going to select.
I feel like most of the streaming services do have pretty good Halloween playlists. If you go out there and like just look in advance to see what songs are on there. I think the only party really stuck to the theme on the music was our 90s party because they just put on
there's
a little easier
so much
to
to
play.
play.
Well, maybe one day Blink-182 will do a cover of Monster Mash, and then you're really set because everybody's happy. Looking back over the past decade of parties, what has been your personal maybe favorite, and then what do you think was potentially the best, like as far as the overall theme? Because I can imagine those two might be separate. There might be a year where you go, man, we killed it. It's not exactly my favorite. I like this better, but what do you guys think of those?
Can I go first?
If you want, sure.
I have this answer ready.
You are ready.
Nightmare Before Christmas was by far my favorite because that's really where we were able to take both of our creativity and put it in a party that the decor was just spot on. And I think it was actually our lowest budget year that we had.
Because it's easy with Christmas involved. Just bring out all your Christmas stuff.
And also, it stands out for me because we were in an 800 square foot house. It was our starter house. It was our first house that we had together. And it was always tight. We only had one bathroom. So 50 people coming was not really in our plans at all, just to accommodate that many people. So for the Nightmare Before Christmas, it was so great because we didn't have a lot of money, but we both love Nightmare Before Christmas, and how can we bring that to people and bring that love? So that's where our creativity started, where Shannon was taking, these long cardboard things and making the doors, all our doors of our house.
Like butcher paper.
Yeah.
And I painted all the doors that are in the trees in the woods and put them on the windows. When you walked in to the dining room, that was like surrounding you.
Because again, our dining room was, very small box essentially where the bathroom was off it. So it was just door on door on door on door.
Yeah.
So we go, how can we make this very confining space like not seem confining? And that was, Nightmare Before Christmas has that. They have all the Christmas door, the Thanksgiving door. So it worked perfectly. And then one of the doors, you open it up, the Christmas door, and you go down to the basement. And that's where the fun's at.
Plan.
And Shannon had the brilliant idea of, hey, we got a Christmas wreath. Let's make that Christmas wreath monster. We have the wreath. We just put some eyes on it. Just angle it so it's going down the stairs. So it's like it's following you down these stairs to this grimy basement. In an 18, our house was 1800. It was built. So it was very old school New England mill style house. And, it made people want to go down there because they're like, what else?
Yeah.
Christmas land? I don't know what could be down there.
Oh, so cool.
So it was one of my favorites because the theming was off the charts for the money we had at the time.
Yeah.
And I painted myself blue. So,
You did.
Wow. Yeah. So not only obviously are you an event planner, but you're also an artist. It is sounding like, is that something you grew up loving?
I did dabble in crafts and painting when I was probably like in middle school, early high school, and then kind of fell out of it. I feel like my niche is replicating. Like I feel like I could have been a good prop master at some point in my life.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It's hard for me to create from scratch like a concept or an idea in my head like that nobody's thought of before. Like I could have it, but making it come to fruition is a little bit of a struggle. But if I look at something, it's easier for me to say like, okay, this is what Oogie Boogie is supposed to look like. I could now draw or do something with that. And I think more like 3D medium is where I've really, I think, found my niche.
Yeah, this is where I punt the things over to Shannon when I have a great idea. And I'm like, I start to try and do it. I'm like, I can't do this. Here, you take this.
Yeah.
But then like we had a wood stove insert on our wall. So I go, oh, wouldn't that be great for Oogie Boogies, like that mouth? So I was like, hey, I can make this. So I took cardboard. I cut out the cardboard. We had the paint and sticks, and I put a blue light inside. So it literally looked like the Oogie Boogie house that he had. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm more like hands-on, like the statues. I was doing that, taking mannequin heads, styrofoam mannequin heads. That was $10 for 7 of them. And basically there was a YouTube video, actually, a DIY, how to make them. So I just followed it as best I could. Again, I'm like, it doesn't need to be as perfect. So that's my last tip I would say for people. It doesn't have to be perfect. That was always my struggle, thinking I had to make this so perfect that, everyone would, wouldn't get it if it wasn't perfect. That's not the case. It's got to be close enough where it keeps the atmosphere, the vibe. And so for this, I cut some corners because I was like, I'm not shaving this styrofoam head. I'm going to still...
I don't trust him around blades.
Yeah, blades. She doesn't let me cut things anymore. You make it to your best of your ability, and people still will appreciate that. And this year we added projections. So that's huge for us. Spoiler for those who are going to be listening.
Thanks, a spoiler.
Whatever. But again, so that DIY video, I'm like, this would be great because again, this was an inflatable that was $400 for the thing, and it didn't look great. It was expensive.
It was an inflatable.
The store had something that was just the one guy that was again expensive. So after getting vetoed on that, I was like, you know what? You have a valid point. Let me make it. Let me make this, and I can make it better than what the store is going to have because that's all people are going to see.
Yeah.
So again, it took me a couple hours to make, and the projection, we're still working out, getting them lined up just right. And again, it's in the basement where people will be pouring from the taps. People will be, more of a Madame Leota's going to be down there. Kind of getting into the depths of the ride, which is, I think the flow is really incredible for this party.
And I feel like I brought you over to the dark side, James, because when we first started dating, I made all my Halloween costumes. And he would always say to me, there is no way you could make a Halloween costume on a budget that looks exactly like the one you buy at a store. And every year I would say, challenge accepted. And then he would end up being like, no, you're right. That looks like, he's like, you're not going to look like the person you're trying to be.
That's right.
And I always did. So I think
that's right.
Really
you proved me wrong and brought me over to the dark side. Like the first costume I made was Optimus Prime. And that's my costume tip of don't pick a costume or make a costume that you're going to be uncomfortable the entire night. So Optimus Prime, I used cardboard boxes and I had to walk down the stairs. And I said, I can't walk down the stairs because I'm wearing cardboard boxes.
Can't see.
Literally from head to toe, cardboard boxes that I spray painted, used tin foil.
Like on the night of the party, it was like 2 hours before, and he's in our bedroom like painting something. I'm like, what are you doing?
I mean, it looked amazing, but I wore it for maybe coming down the stairs and said, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And that was the end of the costume for me on that one. So again, pick your costumes, even as a host, pick your costume around your theme or have your theme be part of your house.
Yeah.
That's I guess my last comments on being a host of you set the tone for your guests, whether it's with kids or not. So again, be mindful of if you have kids coming, don't be something scary. Don't trigger them before they're even in the door. So then they have meltdowns. So then their parent guests that, you want to talk to don't have to be babysitting a kid. So that's where, again, we decided with our parties, it was best. We usually have it a couple weeks to maybe the week before Halloween, just because it seemed to work best with people's schedules. And then again, we could use those props, put them outside, put them in the driveway, open up our garage, so kids can enjoy it too. So it was really the best medium we found was adult party, find sitters, and then kids will get to see it on Halloween.
Yeah. I love all of that. That is just so genius. And I think too, there's something to be said about the stuff that you create yourself. Like people will be so much more impressed with what you've created than any imperfection there may be. You know, like I know going back to us when we did several years ago, we did The Descendants, and you know, it was very easy to buy the three girls, my two daughters and Rhonda, costumes that looked just like everything. But I was going to be Jay. There's no Jay costume. I had to make everything from scratch. It did not look like Jay's, but it fit in so well. And people were so much more impressed with mine because we had to make it than with, you know, the three that we bought just from Amazon or at Walmart or whatever it may be. So I think it's something that people really take in and they're very impressed by. Do you have any final like tips or anything? There's been so much great, useful info, I think, just for like hosting and entertaining in general. Like I took a ton from this. Like I'm going to go tell Ron, like we need to have a party soon. Like there's
and
a bunch of great ideas.
And with costumes too, if you make it, someone else isn't going to be the same exact thing as you. And that does bring a lot of anxiety. I used to have anxiety going to parties of Halloween parties, at least, of, oh no, am I going to be dressed as someone else? And then I'm the worst out of the two, or, you know, like, again, you don't want, like, it was just something added, an added stress that you shouldn't have when you're going to one of these events. That's why you have the games, you encourage costumes, but you know what, if you're not a costume person, that's okay too. And you just make it as inclusive as you possibly can on the budget with what you're comfortable with and knowing what you like too. I think that.
Yeah, I would say final tips is just have fun with it. I think a lot of people put stress on, like James is saying, it being perfect, but just being creative and putting your best effort in. And the thing I used to tell myself, because I used to do theater, is that the audience is never going to know if you make a mistake. So if something that you had planned to do isn't coming out right, as long as you don't bring attention to it,
they have no idea.
So just kind of go with the flow and have fun and don't stress about like the little tiny details. If it
doesn't go right,
those things.
And if you want to win a costume contest, act it out too. Act the part. We had a friend. He came dressed as Miss Rachel for those parents out there, and he didn't win. His costume was great, but he didn't sell it. He didn't talk like Miss Rachel. You know, you kind of have to act it up a little bit, especially when it, you know, not the whole party, obviously, but when judging comes and, you know, people are looking around and you introduce, you know, all right, they're a clown, they're a, you know, whatever. You act, kind of give the crowd a little bit something to vote for you. And that's my tip. If you want votes, you got to sell your costume a little bit at the end if you want that prize.
Oh yeah. We did one year, we did like zombie prince and princesses, and we went to the Halloween party, and it was, I think, Lacey, my youngest, she was probably like 6, so she didn't really get it, I guess. But the other 3 of us in any photos that entire night, we all look like zombies, like our face, our everything. And every single one, Lacey's just smiling from ear to ear. And she looks so out of place. It's kind of funny. We even have a photo from that year with the Gravediggers too, when that was like a photo op. And everybody just has these like, you know, stoic faces, and we all look like zombies. And then Lacey's just smiling as big as she can, which I think is kind of funny. But
that's awesome.
So yeah, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you guys spending this time and giving all these awesome tips to people. I cannot wait to see the final photos once everything is set up. If you do a walkthrough video or anything, send it my way.
We will share that for your listeners for sure. And we're so glad we could finally come on your podcast, Jeremy. I know you joined us on our podcast on episode 97, so that was a lot of fun. So we're glad we could come on yours.
We're definitely gonna do a walkthrough because everyone at work every year asks me what the theme is, and my boss was like, I need a video. I need to see, because I told him the concept. He's like, I got to see it on video. So we're definitely going to do one.
And I guess that's my last tip of you put in all this work as a host, take pictures, like do a before and after, or just the process. And then after the years looking back, you have something to look back on. And that's why this year, I think we're definitely going to do the walkthrough video, because you're so focused on that one date. And once the party comes, it goes really fast.
It's like a wedding.
It's basically like a wedding. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when you're the host, it's just same thing. When you're the bride and groom, like it goes so quick. We'll let everybody know where they can find your podcast if they're interested in home brewing. Go ahead and throw out your socials and where they can go ahead and listen.
Yes, so you can find us at Double Hotbeat Podcast on Instagram. You can also send us an email if you want at doublehotbeat@gmail.com. And I think we're just on Facebook, it's Double Hot Beat Podcast. So those are just our.
And we're on all the streaming services. So you can find us in the episode again that Jeremy was on, was episode 97, where we went to Galaxy's Edge and all of the Hollywood studios. So that was a lot of fun. And thanks again for having us. And again, if anyone wants to know more about like what DIY they could do for parties, feel free to message us as well, or we can share that with Jeremy on some pictures that we have of how to make things. So always happy to help out fellow party planners.
Yeah. Well, James and Shannon, thank you again so much. This was so much fun. And I look forward to seeing all those photos and hopefully chatting with y'all again very soon.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Jeremy.
I don't know about y'all, but I am ready to plan the biggest Halloween party next year. So again, big thanks to James and Shannon for filling us in with all those incredible tips and having that ultimate Halloween party on a budget. So no matter where you want to go, our trusted partner, MEI-Travel, will handle the planning so you can focus on the memories. They offer free vacation planning services and have nearly 20 years of experience creating memorable vacations. Visit mainstmagic.com/travel for a fee-free, no-obligation quote today. And of course, as long as you're out there, you might as well hit subscribe so you get brand new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. And myself, Rhonda, if she was here, and both James and Shannon would be very thankful if you could please leave us a rating and review, because it really does help our show grow.
Jeremy and Rhonda are more than a little fond of Disney World, so they made this podcast to share it all with you. Reports and resorts, top 10 lists of all sorts, Main Street Magic's bringing it home for you.